Zambia's energy sector is on the tipping point with major reforms on the horizon, such as the enactment of the multi year tariffs, the proposal or plans to unbundle ZESCO into major functions, which include transmission, distribution. And you are also looking at another critical reform which has seen take effect in the energy sector, which is the open access electricity regime. All these speak to the major reforms that are intended to be able to position Zambia's energy sector not only to be in a position to supply adequately to the majority of the citizenry, to boost industry, but also to be a major supplier in the region. This is Wenton Mavor, and thank you for joining me on the People's Space podcast. Today, I'm privileged to be joined by Dr. Lubinda Habazooka from the University of Zambia. He is a man whom I've interacted with on several occasions, learned quite a lot from, and it's always a pleasure for me to be able to have an interaction and an opportunity to just converse with him on important issues. Today, we will be focusing on Zambia's energy sector, looking at some of these reforms and their impact. Can they be the game changer that they are poised to be? Dr. Habazoka is precisely here to be able to provide some perspectives and answers to that. Doc, you're welcome. It's great to have you.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me.
Okay, so we've got a tradition, Doc. When we bring people on this particular platform, the first thing that we would like to know about them is what the majority don't have an opportunity to know about them. So, beyond knowing you as somebody who's been a consistent voice when it comes to Zambia's socio-economic and fiscal governance, who is Dr. Lubinda Habazooka?
Well, Lubinda Habazooka is an economist, director of the Graduate School of Business at the University of Zambia. Very few people know about that. I think people remember me from my times at the Copperbelt University, probably those that are a bit older, and the young ones that when I was at Economic Association of Zambia. So my main residence is the University of Zambia at the Graduate School of Business, where I'm director there. I also do, of course, businesses that I don't want to mention because we have a poor, what do you PhD syndrome in the Republic? They say money, love, quietness, but I'm in the finance industry, and I also do some I do consultancy. I was raised on the Copper Belt from parents that were also in the education sector, just like me. I did my studies outside the country, and I have a PhD in economics. I'm a Zambian, pure breed, born in Kitwe. I think that it's a duty to give back to the Republic of Zambia for what it gave us. I have no political ambitions, by the way.
You just had to put that, clear it out.
Yeah, because I think it's what I've noticed now that every Zambian want to go into politics. So we are all born, we were all born differently, and there are some that can go and stand to convince the voters. But I think for me, it's very difficult for me to go and start convincing voters because I'm a bit blunt and straightforward. So I can say it the way it is. And I basically do not believe in giving handouts to people, especially for votes. For example, I believe that if you want to vote for a person, you vote for them. I just definitely think that our country is not at that level where we can we have an objective electorate.
Like practice issue-based politics.
Issue-based politics. There's so many insults. I was checking people insulting each other 2 days ago on social media. And I was wondering, like for what and what's again? And, these are people that you can even be grandfathers or they're already grandfathers and busy trading insults. So I don't like pitting myself in that. Of course, I do consultancy with anybody, political parties, academic institutions. I'm currently working on research consultants with Wits University, the International Labour Organization, and other organizations. I do a lot of works with universities in Europe, those that follow me on Facebook will see that I'm always in and out of the country.
Yeah, I
So
see
those
that.
works that we do, we do a lot of works. So when, for example, I read on social media, people say Mshanya Wadi. So I want to find out which Nshima we dance for, because first of all, I don't eat Nshima because those are very bad carbs.
Yeah.
I used to eat Nshima, heavily last 5 years maybe. And before that, when I was in university, I would 1 year would pass without eating Nshima. And, I gained this weight that I've reduced now because of Nshima. So I think that you can see that even from the critique point of view, for a person, Nishima is everything that exists, but the world is very broad, and we see it as such. And as such, I think my first duty is to ensure that I help enlighten citizens. Those who want to listen will listen. Those who don't want won't listen. You can't convince everybody. But since I'm a lecturer in one of my duties, besides being a director and besides being a consultant and a researcher, my job is to be able to give lessons or lectures to,
And
of course,
and
students and to the population.
and talking about you being a lecturer, I think it would be interesting to know how that has shaped your experiences emanating from you lecturing, how that has shaped your approach to leadership, and just ultimately, in the world of academic administration itself.
Lecturing, I think, is a calling. It's not something that people go there just for the sake of money. You need to love it. You need to interact with people, because we interact with people, different people every day. For example, for the undergraduates, you are basically receiving school leavers that don't even know the definition of economics, for example. They don't even know what banking is or what finance is. So we receive them, shape them, and by the time you are releasing them, you are confident that you are releasing to the public a person that is going to go and sit in industry and do to contribute to the development of this country. When you are getting masters students or PhD students, these are people that are very seasoned in industry. Now they want to move their knowledge to a higher level where they want to become inventors, they want to contribute to knowledge. So you are receiving, not only are you receiving the experience from industry, you're also receiving people. You're able to, if you are training decision makers, you're able to influence decision making from the research and the training and the teaching that you do at postgraduate level, to a level whereby today, if I enter ZRI, for example, if there are 100 people, at least I taught 20. If I go in a bank, there's no bank that I'll enter. I think people there's no bank that I will enter where there's no student that I taught. And in Zambia, I've taught at the Copperbelt University before for 7 years. I'm at the University of Zambia for 7 years now. I think with this December coming, I've spent more time at the University of Zambia than I've spent at the Copperbelt University, by the way. And I've also done a lot of works for the University of Lusaka. We started it at Kabendekela House. Now it's a full-blown and perfect university. So we interact with such kind of people. So when you're talking about accountants, economists, bankers, and basically when I just enter a place, everybody, at least there's a student of mine, and it's very interesting. And one thing that I do is I like going to not a lot of restaurants. I've selected few restaurants. So because I start working from 8, if I'm not at home, not at work, I start working from work because we have meetings 8. The meeting begins, and we normally take work home. By the way, so when I come, I start working at 8. I leave work at 20:30. So maybe if I'm efficient, I leave at 19:30. I go and sit alone because you have been talking too much. You have been doing administrative work. There's research to do. There are deadlines. You always have deadlines. Yeah, research report deadline. And also in your personal business, there are pressures. You need to balance the books. You need to pay taxes. You need to do what. So I like my me time. So when I'm doing my me time, maybe for 40 minutes, I don't want to be spoken to. I'm alone. So when you find me, I'm in a restaurant alone. Don't feel pity for me. It's not that I'm lonely. I just like being alone, especially in the evenings to cool down. So, but after that, I normally like chatting with the waiters and waitresses, finding out. So from here, where are you going to go? Because from where I was, waiters were like students. That's students' work, but our students in Zambia don't want to do that work because they think, hey, I can't be a waiter. But that's
So you start from, yeah.
that's where you start from. That's where you get the connections from. To be a waiter is the best job that you can ever have if you don't have connections, because various people come through. Some will like you, they'll give you tips. Some can even say, can you come over the weekend and help? You make nice cocktails. Come to my place. That's where you get the connections. But in Zambia, we don't know that. So from those interactions, there have been over 10 people that have convinced to come to. No, I want to go and do nursing. Say, don't do nursing. Come and do accounts. You 100% going to get a job. And they have come. They are the University of Zambia. Some finished CBU. I'll tell you a story. When I was at the Copper Belt University, I used to frequent Mukuba Mo Shoprite with my family. So there was this guy. He was a very good administrator, and he was a fan of what I used to write on Facebook and in the media that time, the Post and everywhere. So he comes to me and said, I read that article. Then he starts commenting. Then I realized that this person actually does not understand that they are more tilted towards the social sciences. So I asked him, no, I'm a supervisor in ShopRite, what? Say, you know what you need to do? I said, have you been to school? No, I finished grade 12. Said, send me your results. Here's my phone number. This person sent me the results. I advised them, apply both to CBU and UNZA. UNZA picked him. UNZA gave him bursaries, and he even became UNZASU president.
That's wonderful.
Yes, that person became UNZASU president from my interaction with that particular people. So that's how we help people achieve those things. But of course, a lot of people might not see that, but we try to help and push people.
Let's now move to your tenure at EAZ. Obviously, EAZ, during your tenure, I would say, I mean, that's just my opinion, at the time, became more vocal, became more noticed. Okay. I'm always of the belief that EAZ should be vocal, should be more noticed, should play an important role. And would like to know, what would you say was the biggest achievement during your tenure?
So when I was on the Copper Belt, I used to be an EAZ member. I think they even appointed me as the chairperson of the Economic Association of Zambia for the Copper Belt. Then I think I stayed for a year or something like that. Then I moved to Lusaka in 2017, December. 2018, I was approached to say there was a meeting that was held, and they said EAZ is no longer a sustainable venture. So they were going to close down the Economic Association of Zambia. Basically, people had resigned. The vice president had resigned. It was just the president who was remaining. So we said, okay, so can you come and help revive it? Because EAZ has to be in the space. So I was approached. So I said, colleagues, I'm just new in Osaka. The only thing that I know is Cairo Road, Great East Road, UNZA, and where I'm staying. They said, no, we'll guide you through the process. So we started, I think after 3 months, in June, I won the elections. With other colleagues, I didn't even know that we are standing. So when we met, you could see that we were going to continue in the same path of quietness. EAZ is a legacy association. It is the one that created the movement for multi-party democracy, if people don't know. The first secretariat of MMD were hosted at the EAZ secretariat. You can ask our big brother Kashamba Tambiksta Dewanika. There have been presidents that have been there. When Wadiangandus have been president. Danny Kalialias of this world I think he was Secretary General or President of EAZ. There are a lot of big names that have passed through EAZ. So to see it the way it was, it was bad. So when we went in, I told my colleagues, I think that we need to bring back the association to life. So the first thing that we wanted to do was to create a platform for government, academia, companies to be able to meet. But it shouldn't be a conference like anyone. We should invite, heads of state. So before that, by the way, I was very controversial. I was young. I used to fire missiles at issues. But if that issue did not sit well with government, um, you were considered as an enemy. So by that time, I was a bit of an enemy. But of course, I was working for government because I worked for government all along at the universities. So when I became EAZ president, people were very skeptical. And because no one knew what was happening at EAZ, I managed to pull through and become president. So the first thing we did was to write a letter to go and see the Bank of Zambia governor. That time was Dr. Denny Kaliaria. And he accepted our visit. We went there with my colleagues. And I can tell you that he helped push EAZ because before that, nobody was meeting EAZ. He made us the big push. I'm sure people said, this is just a by the way. Then I said, let's start chatting with various participants in the economy to understand what people want. Because as EAZ, you are not supposed to pick what you want. You need to understand what people want. There's no dialogue in this country. Like I can tell you, in this country, they don't talk. Yeah, everybody's suspicious of each other. So from there, we started visiting heads of companies, NRFA, ZESCO, private companies. Then we had a meeting with the secretary to the cabinet. By that time, I think we had visited over 100 companies. I'm telling you, over 100 companies. We were just meeting them to understand their issues. Then from there, we said, let's create a national economic summit where we are going to be inviting foreign heads of state with our president so that we can enhance not only domestic trade, but also international trade as being strategically planned. I became EZ president in July, and by August, we had written a letter to the president that we wanted to meet the head of state. It was quiet. There was no answer. Then we kept on meeting everybody. We met the governor, the secretary to the cabinet. We started meeting ministers. We started visiting CEOs of companies, Zanaco, and all these other companies. Then on October, I'm sure, the system checks everybody. What is this happening? What are these people up to? And I'm telling you, the type of contacts that we got at that particular time, we became more powerful than any other association that, because all these other, all these other companies were just like, it was a speed dial, when we just, 116 hours, I was at East Park, planning to go, and by that time, I was I was a bit young. We could drink during weekdays. Then I was even calling colleagues to say, let's go and have one or two. It was, I think, a Wednesday. That time I used to start my weekends on Thursdays, a bit. Then Fridays, continue very much. So I received a phone call from a landline, and it was from State House to say the president would like to see you at 9 hours tomorrow. He's responding to your letter. And come with your team. Just send us the names of the people that are going to come, and be seated there by 8:30. So I called my colleagues. Somewhere on the copper bill, someone that said, no, we have been invited to State House. So the following day, we went to State House. And I can tell you, we spent the whole day. We went there like at 8:30. We were leaving there around 16. When we were coming out, I could see EAZ was everywhere. Because first we had the media briefing, then we said what we wanted to do. And then by the time we were coming out, and at State House, you leave your phones. Okay, that time, we used to leave our phones, no security check, but you have to leave your phone at State House. So we didn't have access to phones. So when I came, messages, some were happy, some were upset with me for meeting former President Edgar Lungu. And we had a very honest chat with him, and he told me, I've read a lot of stories, some positive, some negative that you write about me, but there's one thing that, of course, did not sit well with me, but I think we understood. That's why we keep on, improving. So where you think we are going wrong, you tell us. I said, no, Your Excellency, no problem. He said, no, get my Mwinga will give you my number. At one time was economic advisor Mwinga. Mwinga will give you my number. Anytime if there's an issue, you write, Then I realized that we had actually, reached that potential to actually influence economic decisions in the country. So I invited the president. So we are going to have, that was October, we are going to have a gala dinner for the first time in 10 years, and we're inviting you to come. And he says, no one, my brother, I'm coming, I'm going to come. Just make sure you talk with Mwinga, the economic advisor. Then I said, by the way, we also next year want to invite 5 presidents. I told him, yourself, Thabo Mbeki, Kenyatta, and some others. So from the region, this is our plan. We want to do an economic plan. Say, no, whatever you want, we can be able to help. I could see in his eyes, he didn't believe that we were going to pull it off. So that was October. November came. November quickly came. ESZ, now you could see when you are not visiting companies would actually call us and upset to say, when are you going to come and see us? You have been to this company like CC, you have been to Zesco, to us you are not coming. For example, I'm giving an example. So we started like it was overwhelmed, and I had to balance that up with my work at the University of Zambia. So I had meetings like from morning to late in the evening, just visiting stakeholders. And I can tell you, if I found the wage bill at ESZ, maybe it was 4,000 kwacha for all the staff. I'm telling you. And within a few months, we pushed it to close to 100,000 kwacha, meaning we increased salaries, we restructured the association. The association didn't even have a motor vehicle. We bought motor vehicles. We basically created some structures at ESZ. So 2 weeks before the gala dinner, then I realized, hey, we have to do the gala dinner. Say yes. Can you call Intercontinental? Intercontinental luckily had space. I think it was on the 20th or something, around the 18th, somewhere there. Then I said, don't write to the president yet. We don't have money. We didn't have money. Let's first just advertise him that he's coming. No, we need clearance. I said, that clearance, it will take you 3 months, meaning your event won't take place. Just so we did posters, gala dinner, ESZ, the president is coming. I'm telling you, I think the system did not believe me, or they started checking, is this approved, is it not approved? So about 4 days before the event, we hadn't even written a letter to invite the president for money. We received a phone call from the powers be to say, this event, the president is coming, but have you written to him? Meaning we had put so much pressure, there was no way he was not going to come. So we wrote a letter and we just saw people coming in. You know, when you're organizing an event, the president coming, they take over. They took over. I'm telling you, we raised the last money, I think the last day. We raised everything. You know, people now started coming. Everyone wants to be where the president is. People started paying up and we made profits. That profit for ESZ was the first inflow that ESZ had significantly. That's why people are saying, why do you organize these things? Because ESZ is voluntary. Economists don't pay like a mandate. It's voluntary. So it's very difficult to raise resources. So you have to have events. So that money now pushed us into the next year. I was comfortable, salaries were going to be paid. The following morning, I even left for holidays outside the country. I hear naysayers started saying, no, he's using the money for the association, but I bought, I always leave. Even this year, I'm going to leave the country for holidays. I always go. I know how to budget from the little money that I scrounge around and
just before yes. we go on a break. In a minute or so, I remember very well. I attended that event. By the way, it was a success.
Yes.
I think the conversations were very candid and good. And talking about that point where you're saying people said you started using money for the association and everything, there was also another thing that people were saying about you, that you became a puppet of President Lungu. May he so rest in peace. Everything that the PF did to you was just good. You became a vuvuzela for the PF. So before we get on a break, quickly.
So what normally happens when you are ESZ president is that you become an official advisor to the state. So when you are advising government, you are not supposed to be in contradiction. You can't go in the media and insult government. When remember, I told you that the president told me that. Get my number from my economic advisor. Then he told me, if there's something wrong, tell me. So why should I go into the newspaper and tell something wrong when I have the phone number? So most of the decisions probably on the economic front that were happening, we knew before they happened because we were consulted. So some of the issues, we even We even helped shape them. For example, now you are buying gold at Bank of Zambia. Yeah, Bank of Zambia gold. That was our initiative. We wrote that advisory note in 2018 to the Republican president. So when the Bank of Zambia, that time Governor Mvunga announced that we are going to be stockpiling gold, how do you expect me to condemn it? When it came from EAZ, that's one. Two, um, as EAZ or as associations, I think in Zambia we believe that you need to be at loggerheads with government. If government is not listening to you, yes, you can go to the press. But if government is giving you the door to be able to speak, why go to the press? The press is that's you can't wash dirty linen uh, in public. I mean, I work for the University of Zambia. You have never heard me go into the press start bashing University of Zambia, but there are fierce discussions that happens in our meetings because I have a platform where to go and say those things. But that doesn't mean that whatever the state says, we used to agree. No, there are a lot of things that we disagreed with. We disagreed with after we came up with the gold policy and it went another way. I went out. People don't even know that for a period of maybe 6 months, we were not speaking with the president. But meanwhile, I was being insulted that I was a vuvuzela because we had disagreed over the gold issue. Then again, he called me, where, sir? Eh? Now I want you to do this thing for us because you say you know how to empower people. So now I'm challenging you. You go and empower people in this way and this way. Have you seen? That's how people don't know what happened. People just check what's happening on the media, but they don't know that even that period where they were saying Vuvuzela, they didn't know that sometimes we could argue with the president. We could argue with ministers. There are some ministers that could not even, face me. They didn't like me. They hated me, some of them. And some of them loved me, opposition political parties who were engaging everybody because EAZ is for everybody. Yeah, we could meet with even the current president when he was in the opposition. We could talk.
Do you have his number?
The current president,
Did
of
he give you his number?
No, I have known the current president for over 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been speaking with him for over 10 years. And people do not actually know the relationship that me and that the current president had. I think, sorry to say this, but I'm one of those people that could even tell him at one time, why have you adopted this particular person? I don't think, because I don't care which party you are pushing from, but if I see that this particular party in this region is able to win and the candidate that they're adopting is wrong, I will call you and tell you I think this is wrong because that is a potential what? A potential leader for this country. So it's just that in Zambia, people don't understand how people work at that. Look, opposition and ruling party members of parliament, they sit in parliament together. Sometimes when we go out to drink our Glenfiddiches, we are with you, find the PF, UPND MPs drinking together. You are even there. And there you find that they even run a business together. So why do you want me to be insulting people? So there were a lot of wrong assumptions that we were PF vuvuzelas. And it was very difficult actually to separate myself from being EAZ president, Lubinda as a human being, making money and doing his own private consultancies, Lubinda as a lecturer and director at the University of Zambia. And, it's very difficult to fit in. That's why if you told me EAZ again, I would refuse. Because when I was on the copper belt, for example, I would build or I would acquire, like I would develop, let me not start talking about what I do. I would build on property in a year 3 times more than I do in Lusaka. So the EAZ time in my personal growth really brought me down. And I used to encounter people, and I hate this thing where people will tell you that, you are eating EAZ, man. Which money? I'm out of EAZ. Is there money in EAZ now, for example? Some people are insinuating. I've removed money from my pocket before to pay salaries. And when my wife found out about that, she was busy shouting at me. How can you do that? I said, no, but there are also people there. I'm the president. When you are the president, you are answerable for an association. I used to do that. I would go to companies You can ask even Mzingamero, when she sees me, she'll look the other way. Because I would pressure, we want donations, we want donations. Let's do an event, because ESAID is all about begging and lobbying, because it doesn't have any company that it owns to be able to generate revenue. So when we started the Citizens Entrepreneurial Development Program, yeah.
Doc, before you get into that program, right now, I think we need to take a break. And for those of you that are joining us on the People Space podcast, obviously we are getting to know even the other side of Dr. Lubinda Habazooka, even as we focus on other issues that are going on within the Zambian economy, particularly in the energy sector. And we also want to remind you that you do stand a chance to win yourself some amazing and fantastic prizes. All you simply have to do is be interactive on the platforms where the People Space podcast does broadcast. We are talking Facebook, YouTube, under the handle the Center for Trade Policy and Development, CTPD Zambia, on TikTok, Twitter, which is now X, and other social media platforms. If your comment or contribution garners enough traction, you might just be the lucky winner that we will give some amazing and fantastic prizes, ranging from t-shirts, mug cups, it could be hoodies, and all kinds of exciting prizes that you cannot afford to miss out on. Even so, if you would like to meet Dr. Habazoka and have a conversation with him on different things that you can interact with him over, talk about business and all that, that is also an opportunity that we create on the People Space podcast. So let's get talking, let's be interactive. See you shortly after the break.
Hello, my name is Sarah Muyuni. Please join me on the People's Space podcast as we discuss the energy sector, power purchase agreements, and the importance of those to the general Zambian populace. Thank you.
Welcome back to People's Space podcast with me, Wenson Mavora. Today we are talking the energy sector, and of course my guest is Dr. Lubinda Habazooka, a seasoned economist. He does hail from the University of Zambia, and of course you've heard for yourself just the array of work and scope of work that his resume covers, so I will not get into that. But of course, Doc, the energy sector is a critical sector. You know that no country can survive without this important sector. In my preamble, I mentioned about some key reforms that we've seen being championed by the current administration. We are talking about the multi-year implementation of the multi-year tariffs. We are talking about enactment. We are talking about the Open Access Electricity Initiative and so many that we've seen. What opportunities do these present?
So when you're looking at the energy sector and the elephant in the room, which is power trade, not so. So when you look at our energy sector now, Zambia, just like other African countries, has been highly dependent on hydro. And in the past, we used to be lied to say that we have huge potential on hydro. And we have very few rivers in Africa. Actually, Europe has more rivers and is more wet than Africa. That one I can tell you. We have very dry lands. Here we have the Kafue and the Zambezi. Those have potential to provide hydro. The Congo have the Congo River, and then there are other 5 rivers: the Nile, the White, and Blue. But the ability to provide hydro there is very limited. And since when you look at Zambia's energy sector, in 1977, it was the last period for heavy investments into hydropower or into the power sector, we were just like 4 million Zambians. By 4 million Zambians. By 2010, we still had the same capacity of electricity generation, but we were 12 million. Of course, the Patriotic Front government, then I don't like calling the Patriotic Front, but it was I don't like calling governments based on political parties. So government then will be correct, but I'll say it so that people can attach periods, because they remember well that way. So the Patriotic Front started investing in the Kafue and in other energy capabilities. But unfortunately, most of the projects, of course, solar, we started with solar at M phase, it was also there. I don't believe in solar. Solar, yes, is good, it complements, but it's not base load, it's not stable. So most of the projects that they did were also hydro. So meaning that if the Kafue river is dry, it doesn't matter whether you do Kafue lower, Kafue upper, there'll be no water. People are talking about Batoka. Batoka is still on the Zambezi. If there's no water at Kariba, there will be no water at Vikfor's hydropower station. There will be no water at Batoka. Have you seen? Our options are limited. So, despite the fact that we increased energy generation from 1,500 in 2011 to 3,000 in 2021, the generation dropped down because of we've not received good rains for the past 10 years. I remember people were condemning load shedding on the patriotic front that time, but it was evident that it has to do with hydro. There's no power, there's no water, there's no power. Came the UPND government, of course, you also can't condemn because as a country, we are still dependent on hydro. So now that we have realized, because it takes us time to realize that power is not going to be, hydro won't be that solution. It takes us time. This is now the time when people actually now need to realize that we need to now diversify into coal. Now, this load shedding has been there for 2 years. In 2 years, you can't build a hydropower station, you can't build a coal power plant. Maybe you can do a solar power plant, but I'm telling you that solar, yes, it can provide you relief, especially during the day, but it doesn't have, it's not base load. Base load meaning stable load. Whether it's hot or cold, it will provide you that power.
Doc, I want you to speak to the reforms. Are these reforms presenting opportunities that can perhaps present the solutions to what you're describing?
So coming to that, so now that we have realized that we need to be able to reform our energy sector, first of all, we need to diversify our energy sources. That's Mamba. Now the independent power producers come in. Mamba and any other person that is sat at home. You really do not need to have billions of money. You know, I teach a course called Project Finance, and I demonstrate to citizens that you don't need to be a billionaire or a lot of money to be able to bring a coal power plant. All you need is 3% shares or even 5%. 5% of $100 million is $5 million. What you just need to do is to go and source. This is where I'm going to be getting coal from. You source, you have a contract. Supply is done. This is a piece of land where I'm going to build my steam power plant. You secure the land. This land is, most of it is traditional land. You get them for 5 pin. I know, in Zambia here. You secure. You go to ZESCO. I have this project, or not even ZESCO. Now, this is what I'm going to tell you when I start talking about the reforms. You go to a person who's willing to buy power. If I bought you 300 megawatts, can you buy? This one will show interest. Then when you have all these things together, you put up what is known as an information memorandum, also known as a business plan, to say, I want to do this project. These are the potential customers. These are the documents I already have. The people that are going to supply me coal are these ones. I have a piece of land here. All I need is finance. You talk to people in Zambia. There are people that know who can fund. People will fund you because they have seen that it's a bankable project. Then they'll tell you, what are you going to put in? I said, I've patched in this document. I've gotten ZEMA licenses, all that, because that should be duty. So me, I need 5% or even 10% of this. Then people are going to fund you. When they fund you, you are going to have a coal power plant and you're going to become a millionaire in this republic. Now, the problem with Zambia is that we are not seeing the opportunity. Reforms in the energy sector, when do they start? Lubinda Habazooka is in his office in 2018 or early 2019, and he receives visitors from Europe. These visitors had been in Zambia since 2014, and they faced a bureaucratic barriers. You know, in Zambians, we are very difficult to change. So they meet one Ambassador Mkwita in Europe at some energy conference. And then they say, we have been in Zambia ambassador for a long time, but we cannot get, for us to implement our project to be a power trader for renewables, we need the law to be amended, because Zambia at that time did not allow power trading. So Ambassador Mkwita says, I know a person that can help you push. It's Lubinda Habazooka. So that person comes to my office. I don't know them. They come. They are first when they started talking. I was quiet. I was busy. They came around 16 hours, or around 11 hours. That time I was eating carbs, so I probably was tired in the morning. I started listening to them. I started listening. Then I started grasping the concept of power trade. Then I say, you mean government is not jumping on that? I said, they are not. So what was their concept? And what is the reform? So what they wanted was, look, when I bring a solar power plant here in Zambia, ZESCO is also hiding, everyone who develops a power plant in Zambia wanted to sell to ZESCO. So ZESCO had a lot of offers of people that wanted to sell power to it, some even at very expensive prices. ZESCO also had excess capacity to sell power to the mines that were predominantly being covered by CEC. CEC also wanted to supply power somewhere else using ZESCO infrastructure, and it was probably a problem. So to be able to allow such a thing to happen, government then started reforms to create open access to the energy sector. The first reforms were passed, I think, in 2019 under President Edgar Lungu. So when those reforms were passed, it meant that me or you who's watching now, you can create your own power plant. Don't worry, ZESCO might disapprove of it. You don't care. You're a Zambian, you're able to create a power plant. Then you go to Lumwana, for example, and say, Lumwana, I'll be selling you power. At how much? At this price. Okay, agreed. Then you get your line and tap it into ZESCO lines. ZESCO can't refuse because it's now open access. When you tap into ZESCO lines, you pay ZESCO for using their lines, what is known as a wheeling fee. Then you now take your power to Lumwana. When Lumwana says, now I no longer need your power, no problem. ZESCO, do you need my power? No, we have enough generation. We don't need your power now. Okay, I'm taking my power to Namibia. Through what is known as the Southern African Power Pool, because I'm a member, I tap into Southern African Power Pool. I look at the rates that are going. I pay the wheeling fee to ZESCO and to the power transmission company in Namibia. And it goes to Namibia. It can go to the Namibia electricity company, or it can go to a direct company, because in Namibia, there is also power trade. So what does this mean? It's more like me and you, we create a company. We buy buses. These roads are owned by RDA, by the way, in Zambia. Roads are responsibilities of RDA. So RDA, the way ZESCO used to operate in the past is that RDA owns UBZ, which was government then, those who are odd, and UBZ owns the roads. So UBZ owns the roads and it owns the buses. So no other car can use the road. That's the same way it was happening in the past. Now they have said, no, UBZ, yes, it's a government company, but it doesn't own the what? The roads. Anyone can put LY30, power tools, you can use that road. So power trade means that you can use the same way we use roads. Anyone, government can come up with a bus company, a private person, and use the road to move from point A to B. That's what power trade is. Me, I can go and buy power from Mozambique, for example, agree with a Mozambican company that owns power lines to pass the power there. I pay them wheeling fee. I come and pay ZESCO wheeling fee, and I supply another place. People are saying that power traders are exporting power from ZESCO to other countries. That's not correct. ZESCO exports its own power. From the information that I have, ZESCO exports its own power. ZESCO does not need power traders to export its own power. But sometimes when ZESCO sells power to other entities, it is those entities can sell if they want. For example, in the case of CC, I'm not saying those things happen. CC was power divisions of the HCM, it was privatized. And if CEC has its own generation capacity and it's receiving power, it can export that power. But ZESCO exports power on its own. And why, when you look at, for example, Katima Mulilo, yeah, and Kasane, those of you who travel, or even some bordering towns in Congo, they receive power from Zambia because they are basically part of our grid. They are part of our grid. So the same load shedding we face, they also face it there. When you go to the whole of Namibia has power apart from Katima Mulilo faces the same load shedding like Zambia because they are tapped into our grid. And the way it happens is that, for example, if Tanzania has a lot of load, it's importing a lot of things. They can't tell you, Zambians, now you are not going to be importing cars through us. You are closed for now. We are giving priority to our own. They can't because that particular port, it also supports us.
Doc, the reforms that you've described obviously have created an opportunity for independent power producers. Do you think that this promotes competition, innovation, and perhaps productivity in the sector?
Yes, it does. You know, that company I told you, the first one that came, it was it's a European company. There are about 5 other companies or 6 other companies that are registered as power traders. It creates an opportunity for you and me. Yeah, instead of spending time on the keyboard on Facebook to write a proposal. For example, me, I have friends in basically all the countries because where I started, we are friends, and I've been telling them, can you look for somebody who can sell us excess power in your countries? And we are all connected to the Southern African power pool. We can tap your power and bring it into Zambia, and we shall sell. If ZESCO doesn't want it, we shall sell it to any other person. At the moment, do you know that when a person does a solar power plant, you can actually sell direct to a neighborhood. You can sell to industries. The laws they have allowed that. What are the advantages? You do not burden ZESCO with owing people a lot of money. That's one. 2, for ZESCO had a lot of debt. We imported power from the ship. It was very costly, but probably it was needed at that particular time. So the credit worthiness of ZESCO is very low. For ZESCO to be able to import power, it will need a government guarantee. Government guarantee is equal to a loan. People say, no, but ZESCO is not on its own, it's a guarantee. No, that sovereign guarantee government gives, it's a loan. It's counted as a loan. So if you don't want government debt to grow, then so to run away from indebting ZESCO should be pure. Paying salaries on time, it has power, it's selling in the, ZESCO always has first priority. ZESCO is the NAPSA of the energy sector in Zambia. NAPSA is a bully in the pension sector. It's the only institution that does not succumb to the Pension Scheme Regulation Act. Yeah, it's same with ZESCO. There is no one who can take advantage of ZESCO. ZESCO is first priority. But to encourage other people from investing in the energy sector without putting a burden on ZESCO to be able to agree with each and every person, government passed the open access. Open access was first in 2019, it was called Common Carrier. In 2024, it was amended to open access, meaning if you have transmission, my brother, do you know what can happen now? It's just that now we are too late. There was 7 towns in Northwestern Province and some in Western Province that were not connected to the national grid. So what was happening is that those were connected to each other and they were running on gensets. So if it was happening now, we were just going to look for money to connect those power lines to those districts and throw it into the grid and pay a wheeling fee. whoever wants to take power into these districts, pay a swearing fee. So at the moment, even in areas that if a factory wants to go and build some economic zone in the bush and they have no power lines, you as a citizen now, your business can be to go and build from the nearest substation into that economic zone, and you are going to be charging wheeling fee to whoever is passing power. It's a new business.
How many independent power producers do we have currently?
There are a lot. Mamba. So there's a difference between a power trader and an independent power producer. So an independent power producer is this company that produces power. But an independent power producer can also be a power trader. So I'm going to explain. So power traders, you have Mamba. Independent power producers, you have Mamba. I think CEC also has power generation capacities. I think Northwestern Energy Company also has its a bit of generators here and there. And some other solar power plants. Those other solar power plants you are seeing coming up, those are independent power producers. Now, a power trader just trades in power. It goes and buys power somewhere cheap, wheels it into to a client with a bit of profit, and it pays. So the beneficiaries, where you are buying power from, they benefit. The transmission line, which you're using, they benefit. And the end client benefit. And you get your profit.
So you necessarily don't need to have any infrastructure whatsoever.
You don't need. Boss, me, I don't need to be a transporter. I don't need to own. Let me give you an example of Yango. Yango doesn't own any cars. It's an app. It's not a taxi company. It's an app. They have no companies. They have no drivers. So drivers subscribe to the app, but they move people from point A to point B without owning a taxi. Uber does the same. Same with power trade. You don't have power. Okay, I'm going to go and buy it from here and bring it there. For example, let's say ShopRite, Pick and Pay, and all these other companies. They buy vegetables, not so. Me, I'm not a farmer. I become an aggregator. I go to the farmers and say, every Monday, you should be giving me, this is the tomato you should be planting. And every Monday, you this week plant this one, the other week, so that every week you have ready what. Then these are the insecticides. Then I'll be buying from you. So you are buying from farmer A, farmer B, farmer C. Then you are taking to ShopRite. You are the one with a contract with ShopRite. The farmers are selling to you. You are in the agriculture sector. You are in the business of selling agricultural produce, but you have no farm.
So, Doc, why do we have load shedding then if there is this massive opportunity that should be able to spur investment, which ultimately should lead to stability of supply and at the same time reduce this problem of load shedding?
So the first problem that we have is that our Southern African power pool is also just transitioning now. There's a energy shortage, the whole of Southern Africa. South Africa is powering coal power plants and the nuclear power plants to be able to have that power. They also run huge generators. The cost of producing electricity in South Africa is very high, and power in South Africa is also very high. That's one. Two, our grid is not interconnected. Imagine there's no connectivity between Tanzania and Zambia. So if that connectivity was there, we know that Tanzania has surplus, but it can't come here because there's no power line. So that power line, in fact, was not supposed to even be done by ZESCO. Any private party can go and do it. Or ZESCO can do that because we want ZESCO to own it. ZESCO is our company. But you as a private sector can also go and build an alternative one. So wherever you see power, you can build a power line. So our Southern African power lines are not really integrated so much. So once they get integrated, we are going to become like one utility company. The meaning we are going to, there will be no load shedding. Wherever there's a deficit, we'll get power from there and sell. But for you to be able to run away from the government bureaucracies of what, you need power traders. So this power trading, it's there in Zimbabwe, it's there in Namibia, it's there in South Africa, and it's there in a lot of other SADC countries. So where we are going to have a full grid integration, and if this grid is going to be upgraded, you are going to be able to get to get all these benefits. There are power traders in Russia. There were power traders in Europe. Even in the USA, you buy from one grid and sell to another company. You can find that now there's war in Ukraine. People are buying power from far countries, Hungary and all those things. Who's buying those things? The power traders. Because government is not a player to be buying power from anybody.
Another reform, Doc, which is very important, and we're extremely running out of time, but I think it's important to just get your thoughts, no matter how brief. The unbundling of the ZESCO is another reform that has been on the lips of so many experts, politicians alike, and everybody else concerned about the viability or the health of the energy sector itself. What are your thoughts on the unbundling of ZESCO?
Well, my thoughts that we should not unbundle ZESCO. First of all, it's a very unpopular move. Sometimes unpopular things actually are wise, but for me, we are going to have 3 big CEOs with the same salaries, with the same house, 3 HR directors, 3 finance. So just the fact that we are going to unbundle, we are going to create 3 separate entities. I think what we just need to do is to enhance the efficiency of ZESCO. Actually, ZESCO is very efficient. Sometimes they just subsidize us. Let's face it. Yes, electricity is very expensive, but we are just heavily subsidized. There's an economist who said in Zambia that, in fact, things in Zambia are not expensive. It's just the incomes that are low. And I would like to agree with that. When you go to South Africa, South African prices and Zambian prices in almost things are almost the same. When you go to Tanzania, restaurants, food, and everything with Zambia, it's almost the same. And even Uganda. What just varies are the incomes that citizens are getting paid. So, in terms of ZESCO, I'm really not for the idea of unbundling it.
And when we talk about unbundling, are we, I like the way you've explained it, simply separating, or it is separating and inviting private investors, say, to come in and say, okay, in your transmission, we're going to give it to Wenson and Sons, whilst the distribution or generation will go to Lubinda and Sons. Is that what we're looking at? Or when we say unbundling, what we're basically looking at is just separating ZESCO for the purposes of efficiency?
So unbundling is not privatization. Unbundling is separating a company. For example, you say, okay, the investor of Zambia main campus, now you are on your own. Ridgeway campus, you have become a university of medicine. You have unbundled them. You haven't sold them to
So
anybody.
they're still state-owned.
Yeah, they are still state-owned. They still belong to the government of the Republic of Zambia, only that they are separate entities. You know,
But if it's going to give us efficiency, Doc, then why are you not for the idea?
you know, I really don't. You know that the process of unbundling, it is going to take years. We might end up losing grip over the same and create extra cost. In Russia, they had tried to unbundle. There was a company called RAO ES. Actually, they unbundled and privatized, but now it has come back. Government has put them back together because sometimes there can be conflict between the generator and the transmitter. So you are going to have the one who generates electricity, the one who takes in high voltage, and the one that takes to the homes. They are going to be different. So sometimes I can say, get out, I'm not going to get your generation, I'll get from this private entity. They have a right to say that. Then you have killed that one. So to avoid, you just need one person to command. You generate, you transmit, and you provide to the end client. But that said, we should actively invite other people to invest in their own generation capacity, transmission capacity, and others. Let them do that. If the private sector want to do that, let them do that. And I wanted to tackle one issue that has been creating a fuss. You know, power trade and the energy sector is dominated, of course, by ZESCO, but the private sector that are there are all foreigners. Power traders and all these, they are foreigners. So we have Zambian players that are in, for example, Canona. Yeah, Canona Energy. I've heard people say a lot of, but those guys are not breaking any law. There's basically, I'm not their spokesperson. Actually, I don't even know where they are located, what they do. I know what they do, they are power traders or what, but I just understand the concept. We need, if we are going to kill using negative energy to our local people like Kanona, the way we have brought down Benamikalire, the way we have brought down a lot of Matani. How many times has Matani been? He's a Zambian, yeah. How many times has he been brought back? I'm sorry to mention his name, but you saw they grabbed Finance Bank from him, then they returned it to him. We are going to be scared to be investing in businesses as Zambians. Me, I'm scared. Just at the beginning of this interview, I was supposed to use this platform to advertise my businesses, my companies, but I'm scared to even advertise. Let them be advertised minus me being involved, because Zambians will look for what you own and which is doing well to come and kill it. So if you are going to be peddling lies to such companies and they don't develop, then you are going to kill the gene in the Zambian to be able to do business. Who cares if I know the president and I'm doing business? The president does not own where I buy power from abroad. The president does not own where I'm selling power to. We have had instances where politicians in Zambia do business. It's not against the law. Let people do business. We need billionaires. There was a meeting in Dubai last week of African billionaires. Zimbabwe was there. Zambia was not there. The energy sector has the potential to create the first billionaire. That's why when we are doing politics, and I used to say it when I was being said I'm being 2PF, I used to say the same thing. My brother, you have been following me. Same rhetoric, same individual, saying the same things. Just that politician, when things change and you are saying certain things, no, now you are eating. To eat from where? I make my own money. And people should also have respect to each other. You know, you can't be telling me that, no, I'm eating from eating. We work for our money. We've been to school and, you know, we make our own money. And our opinion is our opinion. So let's not fight with Kanona. Don't fight my brother from Northwestern Agents, Kamanga. Those are solid businessmen. They started doing business a long time. Let's prop up even my colleagues like Vena Mikalire, Vena Bukani Soko. Those are Zambians. Let's give them business. Let's let them thrive. Prop Lubinda Habazooka. Hate me for the wrong things that I'm doing, but don't come to my business. Don't kill my business. Support it. When you are going to be in problems, it's to me you are going to come. You can't run to South Africa to go and ask money from a South African. You are going to come to me. So I invite Zambians. If you don't know how to do power trade, come to me. I'm going to explain to you. I'm not saying I'm going to invest in it. It needs a lot of work. And it's a business for sharp people. People that are able to invest and fly around. But as Zambians, we can do it.
So, lastly, before my director kills me, how can government support independent power producers in order to ensure that, you know, there's stability in the energy sector and also just the overall health of the energy sector? This one, Doc, you have to be brief.
I think what government should do is, the president mentioned 2 weeks ago, you have a solar project now, come, it will be done. That's the president who's an elected person and wants to see things happen. But there's a technocrat like me who gets paid every month. I'm the one that will slow down these processes. So what the government should do is to ensure that the technocrats are quick. ZEMA should give fast-tracked approvals, but of course ensure that there's due diligence. Energy Regulation Board should sit often to be able to give those licenses. Even where you think that a person doesn't have capacity to do a power plant or to do, just give them. Let them go and fail on their own. Don't fail them before they try. So to Zambians, being brief, this has been a very difficult year. We've lost a former president. A lot of my friends have, Dandy Crazy passed away entering into this year. Was also a colleague of mine. The economy is improving. Let's talk more of wealth creation. Let's have more conversation at building businesses, not destroying. That's why people like me, colleagues, if you hear that I want to go into politics, please come on my page and tell me, stop what you are doing. we need to at least leave some people that are going to be technocrats. We can save wherever we want to save, but we should not all be more. We should leave people to be able to speak like technocrats. However you speak, we need to embrace various opinions. Shua is a very good friend of mine. We talk with him. I give him, opinions. I've argued in the past with my brother Chiwamba Kanyama, but we speak in the background and, share notes. I want this type of spirit that academicians do. I want it to move to the people of the Republic of Zambia. There's no way you can be insulting each other when you have one common goal, and that's to develop the Republic of Zambia.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lubinda Habazooka, for coming through on the People's Space podcast. And of course, today we were looking at the energy sector with a broader view. And of course, predominantly, the conversation was hinging on the massive opportunity that the reforms that we've seen take into effect present not only for the sector itself, but for you and me as Zambians as well. And the biggest and most interesting clarion call for me from Dr. Habazoka was the fact that this sector, the law at the moment does not discriminate against anybody. So as a Zambian, take keen interest to see the opportunities that you can take advantage of in the energy sector and be able to become a contributor to this national challenge of load shedding that we have, not only to ending it, but ending it with a profit. That being said, before I let you go, you can be a lucky winner of some amazing and fantastic prizes that we do offer here on the People's Space podcast, ranging from t-shirts, mug cups, hoodies, and other exciting items and materials that you can use as memorabilia. All you simply have to do is be interactive on our social media platforms. We are talking Facebook, YouTube, under the handle Center for Trade Policy and Development, CTPD Zambia on Twitter, which is now X, and platforms like TikTok and, other social media platforms where we have presence and where these episodes do broadcast. Your comment, if it garners more traction, you might just be that lucky winner. So let's keep talking. Let's keep conversing on important issues that will ultimately lead to the socio-economic development of this country. From me, Winston Mavora, see you next time. And thank you for watching.